Lemonada.
Hey everyone, it's Elizabeth. I wanted to let you know we recorded this just before we were ordered to evacuate our house in Encino. We got to a hotel and we're safe, and thanks to the efforts of so many, our house is safe as well. And I really want to just thank everybody for reaching out to see how we're doing.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast where we talk about ideas and strategies for making everyday life happier. This week, we'll talk about why I'm planning to work on my grip strength, and we'll talk to star musician Mike Posner about why he's happier now than he's ever been. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, human nature, secrets of adulthood. I'm in my little home office in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister, Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, report in from Los Angeles because of the wildfires that are going on now. People are worried about you. We've had so many people asking, how are you doing?
Yes, that's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a writer and producer living in LA, in Encino, where, yes, Gretchen, I'm really lucky that we have not lost power and we do not have an active fire threatening our house at the moment. But it is just devastating. I mean, there's no other word for it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know what to say except for would really appreciate how many people have reached out to all of us Angelinos. So far, I know 2 people personally who've lost their house.
Oh, gosh.
I know, and then I just hear about dozens and dozens of people.
Right.
So the firefighters have been amazing, as I'm sure you've heard, all the first responders, all the volunteers, all the communities coming together, Airbnb offering people places to stay. I mean, there's been so much good, but it really does feel like, I don't know how exactly the city recovers from this.
Right. No, it's homes, it's stores, it's schools, it's nature, it's this fire and this wind.
Yes, the wind and the dryness was just an awful combination. And just created, a catastrophe.
Well, the Los Angeles Times did a useful article with links to different organizations if people want to donate. And it's sort of like, do you want to donate to the firefighters or do you want to donate to the people or whatever? So we'll post a link to that in the show notes because everybody is watching this. Everybody, it's hard to grasp the scale of it, but I think people want to help. So hang in there.
Yes. We'll go forth and do what we do.
Yeah. Well, a few other updates before we launch into this week's episode.
Yes, Gretchen, we have an Ask Us Anything episode coming up. So please send us your questions. We've been getting great questions.
Yeah.
Keep them coming. You can ask us anything about ourselves, about writing, about Kansas City or New York or LA, whatever you want.
Having corgis?
Yes. Any questions about corgis, I'm happy to answer.
Our email again is podcast@gretchenrubin.com, or you can hit us up on social media. Update on my Habits for Happiness course. It is the last call to sign up for the 2025 Habits for Happiness course. This is my most interactive and supportive course yet. Really designed to help people get that habit figured out in 2025. You can join now and get 25% off, or you can join the 90-day Kickstart, which is an option that allows you to test the waters before committing to the full year. But enrollment does close January 17th. So for more, go to happiercast.com/habits course.
Can't wait to hear how people do with their habits, Gretchen.
Me too. I'm so curious. And then there's one final note. As we've mentioned, our 10th anniversary is coming up. We have new theme music, and we have heard from people, Elizabeth, over the years about more happier. That it's ungrammatical the way we use the phrase more happier. We call the episode is called More Happier, and that's fine because that's more of the Happier podcast. You're getting more happier. But we also use the phrase more happier in an ungrammatical way. And for some people, this just clearly grates on their ears to an almost unbearable extent. We know that it's ungrammatical. We thought that was kind of funny. So it's not that we didn't know.
Right.
But listen, I would say we really committed to the bit.
Yes.
And it seems like, we've had our fun. And now let's go back to good grammar. We appreciate good grammar in others. So if you are one of the people who found that tough to take, fear not. Going forward, we will not use that phrase in an ungrammatical way.
It's our gift to you. We're retiring that phrase.
Yes. So this week, our try this at home tip, and this is a tip that I'm telling myself, is work on your grip strength.
This is definitely one of our more practical try this at home tips.
Yeah, this is not on the transcendent level. But here's the thing. I've been feeling like my hands are not as strong as they used to be. And the way that I experience this is like, if you have a package and you're just ripping it open and maybe it has perforation or it's got something that you have, not some kind of clamshell that you like have to fight to open with industrial strength tools, but just something that you're meant to be able to pull open. I found myself struggling to do that more and more. And I did exactly what I shouldn't do, which is I started using a box cutter to just slice things open. And then I realized, no, by doing this, I'm actually just weakening. If I'm feeling like I'm not strong enough, what I need to do is get stronger, not use a tool so that I don't have to use my strength at all.
Yes, I need to do this too, Gretchen. I've definitely noticed my grip strength being weaker, like when I try to open jars.
Yes.
More and more, I'm asking Adam or Jack to open a jar.
Right. Well, here's the thing, is this may seem like a minor thing, like, oh, we got so much stuff to think about with our bodies. Why would we worry about this? But it turns out that grip strength really is like a fundamental component of physical fitness. It's important for injury prevention. It turns out it's a reliable benchmark of just functional independence as we get older. And it turns out that research is suggesting that people's hands are becoming weaker overall. It's not just me, it's this trend. They're speculating that it might be because of smartphones and touchscreens, the way we engage with these devices. And it turns out that to strengthen grip strength, it's not just the little muscles in our hands, but also the ones in our forearms, and that, are correcting to our upper arms and our shoulders and our core. So, it's just like use it or lose it. It's one of these things where all the muscles are connected and you really want everything to be strong, connected, and in good shape.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that are impacted by this?
Okay, so it turns out if you have stronger grip muscles, that stabilizes your wrists, which means that you are at less risk for like strain and injury, just like during everyday life or if you're working out. And then, there's things just like, you're carrying a bag of stuff. I was at a door yesterday where like I had to fight with all my strength to open this door in the wind. Like you say, jars, that's a place where it comes up. Even something like getting up out of your seat, all can rely on this grip strength. So it's something that we might not think about, but that is actually a really pervasive part of our everyday life.
All right, Gretchen. So how are you going to work on this?
So I did some research to find some easy things that I can just do at my desk. Because my plan is like, I just want to do this throughout my day. I like having a little bit of activity. It helps me be less restless and concentrate.
It's like a fidget spinner idea.
Yeah, so instead of a fidget spinner, maybe I'll do this. So you can hold a tennis ball in one hand and squeeze it as hard as you can for 5 seconds. And you repeat that 3 times in each hand. And you rest for 30 seconds between repetition. And then as you get stronger, you'll get a firmer squeeze. So I got a tennis ball. Another one is the towel ring. You can just do this with a towel. You get a hand towel, you get it wet, and then you wring it till there's no water left. You can do that 3 to 5 times, and then you switch the direction of wringing halfway through. And actually, our father gave us a device that mimics this, so you don't have to have a towel and water and all that, but it basically imitates that wringing motion. So I dug that out. He gave it to me like 2 years ago, and I have never used it, so I'm going to use that thing. And then wrist curls. And I got old weights out of Eliza's room. She's not using them. So you get a dumbbell of 1 to 5 pounds, mine are 3 pounds, and you hold it in each hand with an underhand grip. And so it should be like a slight challenge, but not feel like a strain. And you curl the weights upwards by flexing your wrists and bring the dumbbells towards the body, then lower them down with control. And you feel it in your forearms too. Like you feel all those muscles activating. So you have that 2 to 3 time in sets of 8 to 12 with rest between sets. These I like because these are things that I can just do right at my desk. I could do it on the phone.
Yes.
I could do it. You and I, Elizabeth, we're just chatting. I could be doing this. So I'm going to keep all these things right at my desk. which I like to have a very clean desk. And I think I want to alternate between these because, again, I don't want to just work on one set of muscles. I want to have general strength. And these all, when you do them, you can feel how they're slightly different in what they're doing.
Yeah, and Adam has one of those gripper hand grip device that I asked him to pull out so that I could have that at my desk.
Well, that's a great suggestion. Jamie has one too, and he does it while he watches TV. So it's like you say, it's like a fidget spinner. It's almost too hard for me to use now, but maybe I'll work up to it. Something to do.
Yes.
And the reason why this makes us happier is sometimes these little steps can be kind of a major intervention, like if they prevent a major injury or they just keep us feeling healthy and active and like we can do all the things that we want to do as we go through our lives. And sometimes just a little stumble may prevent a fall, and sometimes a little step can give you a big boost. And I just use my hands all the time. Listen, I remember on my last book tour, I was signing books, and by the end of it, my hands were just aching and aching and aching, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with my left hand. I could barely type, and I was really distressed. And then I realized I've overused those muscles. I don't write anymore, and so my writing muscles were gone. So I'm like, okay, I got to work on my hands. Typing is not enough, clearly, but we love our hands.
Yes, I remember in college writing like 3-hour essays for exams. Now I could never write for 3 hours.
I can't write a thank you note. I'm like, my hand, I've just like sweat drops coming off my hand.
Yeah.
So let us know if you do try this at home and whether you're going to try to work on your grip strength, or maybe you already are. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Email us at podcast@GretchenRubin.com. Go to the show notes. This is happiercast.com/517.
Coming up, we have a happiness hack that taps into our everyday creativity. But first, this break.
Listen, you know how much we love our dog Barnaby. And one of the things, if you love a dog, is you want to feed them a healthy diet. And this is why we love Maeve. Dogs are biologically primed to digest and absorb key nutrients from an unprocessed, low-carb, high-protein, raw meat diet. And that's Maeve. It's formulated to meet our dog's needs, and their raw food for dogs is made with real human-grade ingredients you can name just by looking. And there's no mess, there's no prep, just open, pour, and serve. And Barnaby is very enthusiastic, and I can see that he's more energetic now that he eats it.
Make the switch to raw today. Right now, Maeve is offering 20% off your first order at meetmaeve.com/happier. That's spelled MAEV. Go to meetmaeve.com/happier to receive 20% off your first order. That's meetmaev.com/happier. You know how sometimes a meal leaves you energized and other times sluggish, foggy, or even hungrier? That may be your glucose talking. Foods that are sugar and carb heavy, and you know my experience here, cause your body's glucose levels to spike, often followed by a crash. This matters because it turns out 88% of us have suboptimal metabolic health. So glucose could be the next big thing to track when it comes to health. That's why we're excited about Lingo, a new biowearable from Abbott that tracks your glucose in real time.
I've been wearing Lingo for weeks now, and I've learned that for my body, if I move around after I eat a meal, my spike is much more gradual, much lower. And so I've learned that I just need to get up and move around after I eat. What works for me might work very differently for you, but that's what works for my body. To see how your body responds to food and learn what you can do to improve your metabolism, try Lingo. It starts at $49 for a 2-week plan, no prescription needed. For a limited time, save 10% on your first order with Happier at HelloLingo.com.
The Lingo glucose system is for users 18 years and older, not on insulin. It is not intended for diagnosis of diseases, including diabetes. For more information, please visit HelloLingo.com/US.
Okay, Alyssa, it's time for this week's happiness hack.
Yes, and this is one we love. It comes from Heather. She says, I love how you recommend that people write haikus. When my husband and I got married, he wanted to have a Quaker-type ceremony where people stood up as the mood moved them to say nice things about us. I was worried that people would speak at length, making it difficult to fit in everyone who wanted to speak. So I recommended that folks write limericks or haikus about us. It was amazing.
This is such a great idea for so many reasons. But Alyssa, before we talk about that, let's do some definitions.
Yes. So what is a limerick?
So a limerick is a verse, usually a humorous verse, traditionally, of 3 long and 2 short lines that rhyme A, A, B, B, A. So here's like a funny example that I remember from my science class in high school. There was a young woman named Bright, whose speed was much faster than light. She set out one day in a relative way and returned on the previous night. It is all about the speed of light. So that's the limerick. They are often, I would say, a little bit raunchy, but not necessarily.
Yes.
Not for a wedding, we hope. And then there's the haiku.
So the haiku comes from Japan.
Yeah.
It's 17 syllables in 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5.
So here's a haiku I wrote when Eliza left for college. I just came across it. Of course, it's more apt than ever now that Eleanor is gone. This is such like an open door, empty nest haiku. Here it is. Where did the time go? My girl is off to college. Days are long, years short.
Yeah, I love how it just distills everything down to the point.
Right. And then here's one. Okay. So one of the reasons why this is nice is that it elevates something because there is this formality, there's this structure put into it, makes people sort of reach for a little bit of creativity. And it can add a transcendent level or like an elevated air to something that we're creating. And so when Jamie and I got married, we sent out an information letter to all the out-of-town guests, like, here's a hotel where you can get a deal, and this is the airport, and here's a good place to get barbecue, whatever. And so to kind of make it more fun, I asked Jamie to write a haiku. Jamie is really good at writing haikus. He will rarely do it, but we did. And because the theme of all of this information was we were really playing with the idea of Cowtown and barbecue and the Midwest and the cowness of it all. And then you also have to know that Kansas City is known as the city of fountains. Allegedly, we in Kansas City tell ourselves that we are second only to the city of Rome for the number of fountains. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we say. And so this was his haiku. So it's titled Kansas City. City of fountains, land of the sirloin. Party till the cows come home.
I love that.
So that was just fun and added something to that dry informational wedding letter.
I mean, you can adapt this to anything, Gretchen. If someone has a big birthday, you could propose to everyone, hey, write and email a haiku.
Yeah.
And then you could compile them all for the person and make a little book.
Yeah, I love that. And, sometimes people ask you to send in a video. Maybe it's just, the kind of people that we are, Elizabeth, but I would find it more fun and easier to write a haiku than to do a video where, like, you have to worry about how you look and if you mess up.
Same.
And it could be a great keepsake because it could be just like a printed book. And I like the way that there was an option of you could write a limerick or a haiku because I could see how a person might find one or the other easier or more fun to play with.
Yes.
And so you're not locking people into it, but it's very specific.
And Gretchen, you and I have been talking so much about everyday creativity and how
Yes.
all of us are more creative than we realize.
Yes.
And this is a perfect way to tap into that.
Yeah, because it's fun. It feels elevated and effortful and like interesting and impressive, but it's within reach of an ordinary person. It's not that demanding. It doesn't take that long. And it does add that element of imagination and cleverness. And I also think it is fun when you invite people to participate in a way that they can do and feel good about it. I mean, that's just a happy feeling. It's happy for them to feel like you're flexing your creative muscles and doing something like really personal and fun for somebody. Then it's fun for you to receive it. It's a great keepsake. I think you're right. This is something you could adapt in a lot of ways just to add that element of everyday creativity to ordinary life.
There are no bad haikus and
There are no bad
limericks.
haikus.
As long as they fit the form, they're good.
That's true. And now for an interview. We are so excited to be talking to musician Mike Posner.
Since 2009, international multi-platinum selling Grammy-nominated artist and songwriter Mike Posner has become one of the world's most recognizable voices. He really burst into public view with his 2016 album, At Night Alone. It included his mega hit, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, which made history as one of Spotify's top 10 most streamed songs of all time, with 3 billion streams, and earned Mike a 2017 Grammy nomination for Song of the Year. Since that time, Mike has continued to create music, such as his most recent album, A Real Good Kid. He's also taken steps to center his life more on spirituality, mental health, and joy. Along the way, he's done some surprising things. For instance, in 2019, he decided to walk across the United States. In 2021, he decided to climb Mount Everest. He's currently writing a book.
We wanted to talk to him about happiness and creativity. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you guys?
Great to talk to you.
Yes.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on.
So, Mike, as a young person, you had a huge smash hit, lots of fame and fortune. You've talked about how disorienting that success was. What did that roller coaster experience teach you?
It taught me a lot. And you mentioned the metaphor of a roller coaster. So that, that implies highs and lows. Now, the highs had their own lessons and the lows had their own lessons. And there's been multiple of both, right? So I guess I'll just pick one, But when I first experienced success, I had a lot riding on it. I had all my eggs in the success basket, So my story is not dissimilar from any money doesn't buy happiness or attention doesn't buy happiness cliche story. And you might ask yourself, well, Mike, why did you have to go learn that? Didn't your parents teach you money didn't buy happiness? Yeah, they taught me. I didn't listen. I'm a little hard-headed sometimes. So I had all the eggs in that basket. I was kind of an insecure child and teenager and then young adult. And I thought that if I got everyone to like me, I thought if I got fame and money, then it would actually make me feel better about myself. Because I thought that my view of myself was dictated by how others viewed me. Of course, I had that all backwards, right? And so what happened was I was successful and I got the fame, I got the attention, I got the Grammy-nominated, all these things. And it's not that those things inherently made my life harder or worse. They just illustrated to me through the experience of pain and disillusionment that my theory was wrong. Because my experience of life, moment to moment, stayed the same as one could expect. Like I didn't even need to finish that sentence for you guys to know where that story was going. So at a very young age, probably younger than most, I essentially had, like a midlife crisis at 22, and what a gift that was, because I got the privilege of asking, okay, if it's not about this external success, then what is it about? What could change my moment to moment experience of life? And I've spent the last decade and a half exploring that question and thankfully finding some answers as well. You don't want to stay just a question asker forever.
Well, last year you posted that you're the happiest you've ever been in your life. So why is that?
I think it's a confluence of a series of factors, but one frame I like to look at that through is joy can be looked at as presence plus some kind of excitement for the future. When I first got into the spiritual path, I got really into meditative practices, probably because I was naturally a quiet person. So we naturally focus on things we're already good at,
Right.
And this was really beautiful. I found myself on these strange retreats. I'd be on solitary retreats for 2-3 weeks where I didn't see another person, just alone with my thoughts and just really going deep. There was something exploratory about it and beautiful, and I found how to cultivate some presence, meaning, what do we mean by presence? It's just being in the moment without judging the moment. I'm gonna be in the moment without, thinking, oh gosh, is the microphone working, or should I have done differently, or what is that over my shoulder? Is that like the pillow from the bed? Is people gonna think I'm sloppy? Can I be in the moment without all that mental jargon running? That's presence. Okay, but element 2. So I said presence plus excitement for the future equals joy. The second element, and this is what I missed for a long time, is we as humans, I believe, each of us needs something in the future that we're really looking forward to.
Interesting.
We need it. We need it. And when the future is empty, I believe the present can quickly become unbearable. But when there's something in the future that we are excited about, we're a little scared of, this idea of this thing in the future can reach back from the future and imbue the present moment's suffering or pain with meaning. So I think when you add these two together, you get joy and happiness. And a lot of times, in my case, you ask, well, what allowed you to be the happiest you've ever been now? It's not like I never have challenges. I have them all the time. But on a high level, it's true. I am the happiest I've ever been. What was missing for me was the second element.
Right.
I was operating under a story that I was sort of this tortured artist, that people didn't understand how special I was. That this was kind of like, it's a laugh out loud, silly story. But this was the narrative I had in my head. No one understands me. They don't get how special I am. I'm not appreciated for how, this was like my baseline of how I filtered reality. And so I kind of wrote a new story, and one that excited me and had a kind of a different ending. And the confluence of those two equaled some more smiles.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, Gretchen and I both love walking. So we are fascinated that in 2019, you decided to walk across America, roughly 2,800 miles, 13 states. What a huge vision you had.
Wow.
How did you decide to do that, and how did it go?
That's a big, big undertaking.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful you asked your previous question first, because I decided to do that when I was not the happiest I've ever been. I was probably close to the least happy I've ever been. In fact, I was looking in the mirror and at times thinking, like, maybe the world would be better without me in it. And there was nothing in the future I was looking forward to. So if I'm really honest, this doesn't like scan well for podcasts or for social media clips, but why I walked across America was a bunch of different reasons mixed in a pot.
Sure.
Yeah.
One is what I just alluded to. I wanted to put something in my future that like got me out of bed in the morning, that I could look forward to, that if I figured out how to do it, I knew I would have to become somebody new altogether in order to get it done. So there was a feeling of uncertainty and adventure to it. But that's not the only reason. The other reason, I thought it was cool to myself. And I wanted to be a version of myself that was cool to me.
Yeah.
And then there's some like not so pretty reasons. Like I also wanted other people to think I was cool.
Right.
And I was like, I knew it was kind of a wild thing and that would get attention. And I wish I could sit on your podcast and say, no part of me cared about the attention or the significance that I might ascertain from embarking on a journey like this. But if I'm really honest, that was mixed in the pot as well, and those various different whys become apparent when you're on a journey like that, because it's freaking hard. And so when it gets really hard, your body tells you very clearly, stop. You're hurting me. Stop doing this. And so then your whys start to fall. Okay, the significance why, that's not going to keep you going. The other ones might keep you going. And so they get exposed as you go.
How long did it take?
It took 6 months and 3 days, Gretchen.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Serious commitment.
Well, and you got bitten by a rattlesnake along. I mean, that must have been like the lowest point. I mean, that must have been really tempting. Well, maybe it wasn't tempting to stop, but it must have been hard to keep going for sure.
I'll tell you the hardest part of the rattlesnake bite. So I was about 2/3 of the way done. I got bit by this poisonous snake. I called 911.
Oh my gosh.
I asked dispatch, am I going to die? Because as the poison started to go through my body, just like, there's this camera on me now. It was like Looney Tunes where darkness started to creep in from the edges
Really?
And I felt myself fading away. So I said, am I going to die? And the voice on the other end of the phone said, I don't know, sir.
Oh my gosh.
I spent 3 nights in the ICU. My leg swells to the size of an elephant trunk. I go from walking 24 miles a day to now I can't walk to the bathroom.
Wow.
None of that was hard. None of that was hard.
No.
In fact, parts of it were easy because I got to be in air conditioning.
Yes.
I had to be around other human beings.
Yes.
Right. You knew the food was coming.
Mhm.
Other people were in charge.
The rest of my body got to rest.
Right.
Even though my leg was, I don't know if you'd call it resting, but
Right, yeah.
recovering. And so there were parts that were easy. I'll tell you what was hard though. What was hard was when I started to get better. Because when I got hurt, I got more famous than I'd ever been.
Of
So
course.
this thing that I realized years before, like this chase for fame that I knew would never make me happy, but there was always a little thing in the back of the head going, well, maybe you just didn't get enough yet. Okay, so this like triggered this old story that I had started the whole project to get away from.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm sitting at home and now I'm getting all this attention from not only mainstream news stations, Good Morning America, TMZ, but also my friends and family are
checking in
on some kind of cyclical parade, like coming into town, cooking for me. And also my Instagram DMs are now blowing up with not just the messages of, random Instagram influencers, but the names of my heroes are noticing that I'm hurt and going, oh, wishing you well, feel better soon. And so I'm just getting this avalanche of attention.
Ironic.
And there was a part of me that wanted to stay hurt because it thought when you're hurt, it made the association. When you're hurt, you get attention. And at that time, I still thought that attention equaled love. Attention does not equal love. In fact, it's like some, demented facsimile of love, right? And that was the hardest part, was going, hey, I'm better now. So am I going to go back to my old life, or am I going to choose now, knowing it's one thing to start the journey because you don't know how hard it is. Now you know how hard it is.
Yeah. Starting over is often harder than starting, for sure.
It's harder to restart.
Yeah.
Your body is screaming at you every day. And it was an inflection point in my life because I was either going to return to the old me of trying to get everyone to like me or living someone else's life. And I probably even maybe could like still be on this podcast and have a cool story that ended with a snake bite. But I would know that I quit.
Right.
And for me, it was a no going back moment. It was, you're either going to finish these 1,000 miles or you will never become the person you were meant to be. So I took my behind, even though I still had that voice in my head.
Yeah.
So what I teach, people want the negative voices in their head to disappear. There's some fallacy that like their therapist or something has like no negative voices in their head. I don't believe that. I think sometimes it's okay that they never go away.
Right.
But you learn which ones to listen to and which ones not to, or when to listen to which.
Right.
And this is like, I think, a higher order of sovereignty. It's like, I have a warrior in me. I have a king in me. I have a lover in me. I have a magician in me. I have a sad, 6-year-old in me. And which one do I choose to be in the moment?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the moment. And the better I can match those, the better I interact with life. So I choose to go back, and I started taking steps, and I just kept taking steps until I ran out of land.
There you go. You ran out of land. So, Mike, one final question that we ask all of our guests. Do you have a try this at home suggestion, something in their ordinary lives that people can do to be happier, healthier, more productive, or more creative? Got any suggestions? This is right up your alley. I'm sure you've got a million ideas. What's one you'd suggest?
So many. I'll choose the one that's made the biggest difference most recently for me.
Good.
Which was 6-7 months ago. I started every Sunday and not missing, having 1 to 2 hours blocked off simply to celebrate everything I've accomplished the prior 7 days.
Oh,
okay.
So this is not a planning session. This is celebrate. It's not assessment of where you are. No, it's just celebrating what you did. And people make the mistake of only celebrating what they did in the work part of their life. No. Celebrate the work part, but celebrate what you did in your family, what you did in your relationship, what you did in your spiritual growth, what you did in your friendships, what you did in your physical vitality, what you did in your giving back. All of these areas, are important. And so you should celebrate. Like, you took time to FaceTime your mother or your grandmother or your great aunt. Give yourself credit. You did it. You went on a walk, or you saw the sunset, or a 10-minute walk. Give yourself credit for that 10-minute walk. You will be blown away when you look at this list at the end of 7 days and go, holy crap, I am so successful in so many areas. And is there room to grow? Yes. But we have to celebrate our success to have momentum to grow with. If we're just beating ourselves up, like, oh, we didn't do this, it's very hard to build on that.
Yeah.
So 2 hours a week, and life changes. So sometimes you might do it on a Monday instead of whatever, but once a week, 2 hours to just celebrate.
That's great. It's not the to-do, it's the ta-da.
Yeah. And sometimes what I do is I'll put it in I don't know if it's like logging all these is going to use it against me one day, but I'll put it into ChatGPT and I'll say, read it back to me. And it starts reading back, and I lean back. I'll put some music on, and I let it just tell me how much I did.
That's great.
I listen to it like a podcast.
Yeah,
That's
excellent.
fantastic.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks, Mike.
You too. Thank you guys for what you do. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, God bless you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Coming up, Gretchen has a demerit related to something that's still bugging her. But first, this break.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Weight loss. It needs to be fast and sustainable. Noom GLP-1 starts at just $149 and ships to your door in 7 days. Take it from Marcos, who's loving his journey with Noom GLP-1.
I'm getting to where I want to be. I'm in such a good place right now, and I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to continue this weight loss, this journey, and really make a true lifestyle change.
Don't believe it? Take it from Cam, who's gaining more confidence with Noom GLP-1.
I really am starting to feel better. Like, I feel a lot lighter. I feel a lot happier. I feel a lot more confident. I just feel a lot more like myself. I don't feel so bogged down every day.
$149 GLP-1s? Now that's Noom Smart. Noom, the smart way to lose weight. Get started with Noom GLP-1 at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. Individual results may vary. Not all customers will medically qualify for prescription medications. Compounded medications are not reviewed by the FDA for safety, efficacy, or quality.
Okay, Gretch, we're back with demerits and gold stars. What is your demerit this week?
Okay, so for my 25 for 25 list, I'm making this big push to watercolor every day in 2025, and so far so good. I'm loving that. But you'll remember in 2024, I had the same aim, and I had that really bad watercolor teacher. I mean, really bad.
Yeah.
And okay, so here's the demerit. I'm still letting her annoy me. I'm still thinking about what I think she should have done better. Why am I learning things from this online video that she should have explained in the first class? And it's like, why am I letting her take up so much room in my head? Move on. She was a perfectly nice person. She was a very bad teacher, but she was a perfectly nice person. I'm going to go for it. I'll have an amazing experience in watercolor. Why am I thinking about her so much? That is the demerit. It's just unnecessary aggravation that I'm bringing on myself.
She's living rent-free in your head, as they say.
I never really understood what that meant until this experience. That is exactly it.
Well, I'm guessing it has something to do with the anxiety you have around the watercoloring and whether you will follow through on doing it.
Yes.
And somehow your anxiety has attached to her.
Yes.
But maybe now that you've said it out loud, expressed it, you can let it go.
At its best, that's what the demerit does. It either
Yes.
gets you to step up or it gets you to let go. So I'm hoping that this is the last that I will ever say or think, because I'm moving on. I'm having a wonderful time with watercolor. That's all that matters. But Elizabeth, take us up. What's your gold star?
Well, Gretchen, we mentioned the fires in California at the top of the show, and I mentioned the firefighters and the first responders. But once again, I just want to give a huge gold star to everyone who's helping, all of the volunteers who are running, evacuation centers, to all the people opening their homes, to all of the power workers, who also have a lot on their hands. Big gold star to everybody. It's really a hard time in Los Angeles, and people are stepping up.
Yeah.
So gold stars all around.
Yeah, it's so extraordinarily challenging, and to see so many people stepping up to that challenge. So gold star, millions and millions, so much appreciation for all the hard work and dangerous work that they do.
Yes. And of course, our heart goes out to everyone who's impacted by this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. The resource for this week, if you are doing Read 25 and 25, and we hope that you are, you can get some journals or tools to help you continue your reading routine at happiercast.com/shop. If you love a journal, there's a lot of good options for tracking, celebrating your reading. You might like the Don't Break the Chain journal. You might like the One Sentence journal. You might like the Memento Keepsake. There are different approaches to how a person might want to memorialize or track the Read 25 and 25. And speaking of reading in 2025, Elizabeth, what are you reading?
I am reading Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz.
And I'm reading Talk to Me by Rich Benjamin. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Work on your grip strength. Let us know if you tried it and how it's working for you.
Thanks to our guest, Mike Posner. Thanks to Chuck Reed and everyone at Lemonada.
And you know what to do. Rate, review, follow. And if you like this show, let others know.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. So, Elizabeth, do Nacho and Daisy seem aware of the fires? I know sometimes dogs or other animals can be aware of natural phenomenon. Do they seem aware that there's something going on?
Not really, but they do bark when there's a big wind gust. They pick up on that and will start barking.
Because like the palm trees are rattling or
yes,
he's whipping around. Interesting. From the Onward Project.
This message is sponsored by Cologuard. Because of my own health journey, increasing awareness around the importance of colon cancer screening is a mission close to my heart. And one common misconception about screening for colon cancer is that you should start at age 50. But in actuality, if you're at average risk, the recommended age to start screening is 45. And a great use-at-home option to screen for colon cancer is with the Cologuard test. The Cologuard test is a non-invasive, effective, and affordable prescription-based use-at-home colon cancer screening test that looks for both abnormal DNA and blood in your stool. What I really love about the Cologuard test is that it gives the option to screen your way on your time with no need to take time off of work for prep or procedures. Even if you don't have any symptoms, it is so important to test beginning at 45 because many patients with early-stage colon cancer have no symptoms at all and are diagnosed through screening. With zero downtime, no special preparation, and a use-at-home screening test that's delivered right to your door, what more are you waiting for? So if you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a Cologuard prescription today at Cologuard.com/podcast. Do not use the Cologuard test if you've had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease, and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colorectal cancer. False positive and negative results may occur. Any positive result should be followed by a colonoscopy. not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. The Cologuard test is available by prescription only.